Have you ever wondered what really happens when we close our eyes for the last time? That mysterious moment we all face, but no one can truly describe? Death may be the biggest mystery of human existence. Today, we're diving into the extraordinary revelations of Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, who, during his mediumistic trances, described in amazing detail what goes on when we cross from this world to the next. What you're about to discover in the next few minutes might completely change how you see life and death, challenging everything you thought you knew about our existence. Get ready for a journey beyond the limits of ordinary understanding, where science meets spirituality and where ancient traditions blend with modern, near-death experiences. If this topic sparks your curiosity or touches your heart in any way, go ahead and like this video right now and subscribe to the channel. Share in the comments your own thoughts on what happens after death. Do you believe in life after death? Have you ever had any unexplained experiences with loved ones who passed on? Your input in this conversation is key because we're all in this exploration of the greatest mysteries of existence together. Edgar Cayce wasn't your ordinary religious leader or just any medium. This seemingly simple man, born on a farm in Kentucky in 1877, became one of the most well-documented psychics in American history, giving over 14,000 mediumistic readings throughout his life. And the most fascinating part? Cayce would enter a deep trance state, literally asleep, while his consciousness seemed to travel beyond the limits of time and space, accessing what he called the Akashic Records, basically a cosmic library containing all of human history and knowledge. While doctors, scientists, and skeptics watched closely, this man, without any formal medical training, diagnosed complex diseases with unbelievable accuracy and provided specific details about ancient civilizations that wouldn't be confirmed by archaeologists until decades later. But perhaps his most profound and impactful revelations were about what happens when our heart stops beating and our breath ceases. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself lying in bed, fully aware that your last moments in this physical realm are approaching. You feel your body growing heavy, but strangely, your mind seems clearer than ever. Everyday worries start to fade away, like fog lifting under the morning sun. According to Cayce's readings, this is just the start of an extraordinary journey. Even as your loved ones keep watch over your physical body, something amazing has already begun. Your consciousness is expanding in ways you never expected. The limits of physical perception are dissolving. Colors you never thought possible start appearing in your field of view. Sounds from an inexplicable harmony fill your senses. Some people describe a warm, inviting light that doesn't dazzle you, but draws you in. Others talk about a deep sense of peace, as if they're finally coming home after a long journey. Do you feel scared at this moment? Or are you filled with an overwhelming curiosity about what might lie beyond the veil that separates this life from the next? Cayce's descriptions of the dying process stand in stark contrast to some traditional religious interpretations, but interestingly, they echo biblical passages when you look closely. When Jesus told the thief on the cross, "Today you will be with me in paradise," he was suggesting an immediate transition of consciousness, not a long sleep until a final judgment. The Apostle Paul wrote about a spiritual body, different from our physical body, saying that we sow the natural body and we will also reap the spiritual body. These passages surprisingly line up with Cayce's readings, which describe our consciousness continuing in a subtler body made not of physical matter, but of vibrational energy. For materialists who believe that consciousness is just a product of the physical brain, the near-death experiences documented by doctors like Raymond Moody and Eben Alexander present a big challenge. How do you explain vivid perceptions and memories being formed when the brain shows no electrical activity? How are patients able to accurately describe objects and conversations in operating rooms while they were clinically dead? Is it possible that we're on the edge of a scientific revolution that will finally help us understand consciousness as something that goes beyond the physical brain? According to Cayce, the moment of transition is so much more than just leaving the body. It's an awakening to a broader reality that has always been there, but remained hidden from our limited physical senses. The readings describe that after the final separation from the body, we're greeted by loved ones who passed before us, by spiritual guides who have been with us throughout our earthly journey, even when we weren't aware of their presence. This reunion isn't just an emotional comfort, it serves a bigger purpose, to help us adjust to this new state of being. Imagine the shock of suddenly moving from a three-dimensional reality to a multidimensional one. It would be like a 2D cartoon character, suddenly gaining an understanding of depth. This new environment isn't a physical place located somewhere far away. It's a distinct vibrational state that coexists with our physical world. Many who have had near-death experiences report a feeling that this other side had always been there, just invisible to our ordinary senses. A veil is lifted, and what we see isn't strange or foreign, but oddly familiar, as if part of us always knew about this other aspect of reality. One of the most transformative aspects of Cayce's readings about life after death is the life review. Unlike the idea of an external judgment from a punishing divinity, Cayce describes a process that's deeply personal and introspective. In this review, we experience not only our actions, but also their effects on everyone around us. Even more extraordinary, we feel these effects just as the other people did. Imagine reliving every moment when your words hurt someone, but this time, feeling the pain exactly how the other person did. Or reliving moments of kindness, experiencing the joy and gratitude you brought to others. This experience isn't about punishment. It's educational in the deepest sense. It's a perfect mirror that reflects not just our actions, but our intentions and the real impact we had in the world. Many who have had near-death experiences describe this review as the most transformative moment when all illusions fall away and we see with absolute clarity the meaning of our choices. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to watch the complete movie of your life, not just through your eyes, but through the eyes of everyone who crossed your path? How might that perspective change the way you live every day from now on? After the life review, Cayce talks about what we might call a period of adjustment and planning. Unlike the popular idea of a static heaven where we just rest in eternal bliss, the readings suggest a dynamic process of learning, growing, and preparing. In this state, we still keep our individuality and free will, but we have a much broader understanding of who we really are beyond our physical limitations. It's like finally being able to see the entire chessboard of life, understanding patterns and connections that were invisible during your time on Earth. Here, we work with our guides and spiritual mentors to process the lessons of the life we just finished and start planning for new experiences that we need for our growth. This process doesn't happen in a straight line like time on Earth. What might seem like centuries in the physical realm can be experienced very differently in these higher dimensions. Have you ever had those sudden bursts of inspiration or deep clarity that seem to come out of nowhere? According to Cayce, these might be brief glimpses of that expanded consciousness, little windows between dimensions that occasionally open even while we're living our physical lives. One particularly fascinating aspect of Cayce's readings is his description of the different planes or spheres of existence after death. Far from being a rigid structure of reward and punishment, these planes represent distinct vibrational states that naturally attract like-minded consciousness. There isn't an external judge deciding our fate. We're drawn to environments that resonate with our own spiritual frequency, determined by our choices, thoughts, and actions during our physical life. Cayce describes everything from lower vibrational planes, where consciousness stuck in negativity and materialism might temporarily reside, to high spheres of light and harmony, where more evolved beings help guide universal growth. What makes this description so revolutionary is that there is no eternal condemnation, just continuous opportunities for learning and evolution. How would it feel to live without the weight of fear over eternal punishment, but with a deep understanding that we're responsible for creating our reality through our choices? Doesn't this perspective set us free to act out of genuine love instead of a fear of consequences? Just think about how your motivations might change if you truly internalize that vision. Cayce's readings about life after death also reveal a powerful insight about communication between dimensions. According to the sleeping prophet, the separation we perceive between the living and the dead is much thinner than we think. Our loved ones who have passed aren't isolated in some distant, unreachable realm. They often remain close by, aware of our lives, and able to offer help in subtle ways. Dreams, sudden intuitions, meaningful coincidences, and even that unexplainable feeling of a loving presence can all be forms of interdimensional communication. Cayce explained that these connections happen all the time, but our limited physical consciousness usually filters out such perceptions. However, during quiet moments, meditation, or when our mental defenses are down, like when we're sleeping, we become more open to these subtle influences. Have you ever woken up feeling like you just had a conversation with someone who had passed on? Ever experienced inexplicable synchronicities that seemed to carry a personal message? Or felt a comforting presence during times of deep pain or despair? According to Cayce, these aren't just psychological projections, but genuine experiences of contact between dimensions. One of the deepest questions raised by Cayce's readings is about the nature of purpose and choice. He believed that before we were born, we actively participated in planning our earthly life. We chose our parents, the circumstances of our birth, and even the main challenges we'd face, not as a form of self-punishment, but as carefully designed opportunities for our spiritual growth. This perspective radically transforms how we understand suffering and life's difficulties. That debilitating illness, the toxic relationship, the devastating loss, what if these weren't random tragedies or divine punishments, but experiences carefully selected by our own souls to trigger specific transformations? This doesn't mean we should passively accept harmful situations, but rather that we can look for a deeper meaning in them while working to overcome them. Life becomes a purposeful school, not a senseless chaos. When we really look at our greatest challenges, we can ask, what is my soul trying to learn here? What qualities am I developing through this hardship? This shift in perspective can transform even the most painful experiences into extraordinary opportunities for growth. All of this leads us to a revolutionary conclusion about the nature of death. It isn't an end, but a transition. It isn't a descent into oblivion, but an awakening to an expanded consciousness. It isn't a permanent separation from those we love, but a change in the way we relate to one another. Cayce's readings portray our existence as an endless continuum of experiences, where physical life is just a brief chapter in a much larger journey. Picture yourself as an endless ocean of consciousness, where each physical life is like a wave that rises, expresses its uniqueness for a moment, and then returns to the whole, never truly separated from the vast source from which it came. This understanding has the power to profoundly change how we live here and now. When we realize that our true being goes way beyond the physical body, many of our worries and fears lose their grip. When we understand that we carry the lessons and growth from every experience beyond death, we begin to value inner development more than external possessions. And when we realize that we remain connected to those we love even after physical transition, grief shifts from being a final end to a change in relationship. If this message touched something deep within you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for our upcoming content on the mysteries of consciousness and spirituality. Share your experiences, questions, or reflections in the comments. We're building a community of seekers and explorers who aren't afraid to challenge the limits of conventional reality. And now, as we wrap up this exploratory journey through Edgar Cayce's revelations about life after death, I invite you to consider one final question. If you knew with absolute certainty that your consciousness would continue after your last breath, that every action in this life would create ripples that you'd fully experience, and that every moment of kindness, understanding, and love that you share becomes a permanent part of your soul, how would you live differently from today? Death isn't the end of the story. It's just a comma in a continuous and extraordinary narrative. Subscribe to the channel and hit like to get access to more stories like this. Our true nature can be far more vast, eternal, and wonderful than our fears have ever allowed us to imagine. And maybe that's the most liberating message Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, left for all of us. We aren't physical beings having occasional spiritual experiences. We're spiritual beings living a temporary physical experience.